All right, Kev, let's move on. Top five things to watch next week. And so, number five, we just wanted to ask the question like, obviously, the bad economic data drove the 2 year yield down to a fresh low. And that spurred an acceleration of the like a little bit of a steepener. So the question is, in your mind, is this a legitimate change in trend, or is this just a squiggle and that's just some noise? Like, I mean, we saw obviously we were inverted. We got up to about 15 basis points on this. We're about spot 124 now. Is this, in your mind, a chance that the real steepener is coming here and that you load up on this eyeball, or do you think that this could still be a fake out?
Well, eyeball might go up even without the real steepener going on. So that's a different story. But it's kind of, I feel a little bit like when they ask the gold guys, the gold bugs, when the gold bugs see somebody taking down gold, $50, that's always manipulation. And when gold rallies $50, that's always just price discovery, and that it's finally getting to fair value. So I'm going to take a page out of their book and say, yeah, this is great, and it's headed on its way to higher, Patrick.
All right. Well, you heard it here. Fade it. So number four, what a little intraday reversal we had here in the last 24, 48 hours here on the S&P, eh, Kev? Like, I mean, you and Cuppy went bearish all at once. I didn't even know what was happening. I was so confused. When the two of you guys get bearish, I'm like, is this some sort of Twilight World episode of some kind of crazy show? Like, I don't understand. You two guys are always so bullish. Well, actually, Cuppy's not always bullish, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that you both were bearish actually reversed the market.
No, because we were before that, buddy. I'll tell you one thing. So we went out drinking last night, Patrick and I, and when we were chatting, I realized that we had much different time frames in terms of what we were expecting. I had gone bearish, and I continue to be bearish, especially on a relative basis. I think that to me that the American outperformance is probably seen its last days in terms of stock market, at least for a little while, and I expect that we will see some distribution in the indices. But I definitely am not looking for a big, huge crash or even a move back down to like 2,500. Like, I'm not that bearish.
You're not that bearish.
I was bearish for a trade. You know me, Patrick. It's tough for me to be bearish. It's like you being bearish on bonds. You can't do it.
Hey, don't say that.
You very rarely are bearish on bonds.
Because they've been going up. When
fair.
it's time
That's
to
fair.
get bearish bonds, I'll be bearish. You'll just wait. Like, I'm
That's
just
true.
I'm
That's
just gonna
true.
be patient and wait for my window. But anyway,
Yeah.
the one interesting observation I was making on a number of places, whether with my members or a macro voice or whatever, I was talking about the fact that this sell-off so far has been by far, from a magnitude perspective, one of the most shallow, right? So what obviously, looking at the big sell-off in September to December back last year was a 600-point drop. But even just this year, the May drop was about 230 S&P points, and then the July drop was about 250 points. And so this current sell-off in the S&P was just a very shallow 170 points on a relative basis. If this was the reversal and it just started going higher, which I guess we can't say it's impossible that it does but it would be the weakest and the most shallow sell-off we had of all of the ones this year, and therefore I still am highly suspect that this is a fake out, and then we're gonna go for another retest on the downside. I still think, like, maybe listen. I don't know whether this push is where we see something crazy like 25 or 2200, but I just don't believe that the bottom we saw 24, 48 hours ago is gonna be the low of October. I think that we still, a minimum, are gonna retest it, but even go lower, and then we'll see. Maybe November, December could have a different kind of a story to it.
Well, the world's back in order. You're more bearish than I am. I'm
Oh,
still
thank
bearish. I
God.
think it grinds lower, but
Thank
I
God.
don't think it's going to be a big, huge swoon.
All right. So number three, I wanted to talk energy stocks, XLE particularly, and obviously oil. I'm still kind of shocked that oil went all the way down to very close to 50. I mean, it didn't hit 50, but I just couldn't believe it gave it all back, and that caused these energy stocks to sell hard all the way back down to their lows from August. And I personally am a fan of energy stocks, and I actually think that they're stupid cheap down here. But the question we're just asking, does this low hold? Like, is that just this is a perfect buy on dip at the bottom for a retest, or does this thing still have more selling, and maybe we're going to see, 54, 52, 50 on the downside of this before it becomes a compelling buy? Yeah, any opinions on this?
Yeah, it's going to hold.
Yeah, why is that?
I'm doing my best William Wallace. It's holding. I don't know.
Hold.
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 I just think it's gonna hold. I don't believe, like, I do believe in double bottoms. I don't believe in triple bottoms. If we go back there and test, so if we get a bounce and then it falls back down to the 55 level,
Then I'll
at that
give.
point I'll be like, forget it. It's not gonna hold. But at this point, I still think we could get a clean break. I mean, a clean bounce from here. I'm bullish. These things, I think they're dirt cheap. The market hates it. It just feels to me washed out. I would love it to hold. I'm not even, you know me, usually I'm trying to be cute and get all the technicians to get sucked in there before I get long. I think that this might hold, and I'm actually hoping that the voodoo magic works and that double bottoms actually exist.
All right. Number two, I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on these semiconductors because look, I won't lie, I've been a pessimist on semiconductors broadly.
I
I
know. Do you know what the pisser about this is? I lost a bet on this, and you literally somehow figured out the only, like, 3 weeks that these things have gone down. So kudos to you, buddy. Somehow you managed to time the bet perfectly.
So the with that said, we had a very, very shallow correction, which as a technician looks like a flag wedge and with bullish gaps. Like this chart looks like, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, coming up to overhead resistance like almost an ascending triangle. Will this thing break out? I mean, I don't know whether we're going to Gucci it like we did with the Brazilian index, but this looks like it's winding up for a go at the upside. Does this thing go to 130?
I don't know. It's one of those go figures because I would have never thought that it would be this strong at this point with these the fundamentals here and all the crap from Trump and the China trade war. I guess the only thing you could say is if this thing can
And then
hang
you
in
can
here
take a
this,
look at that Kospi index and all these
yeah.
other things. Like you would think that these semis would be under a lot more pressure than this, and this
Yeah.
chart looks crazy. Like it look like I'm always
It's
torn
bullish
because
looking,
it's very bullish looking on a
Yeah.
chart that I want to be incredibly bearish on. I
Yeah,
hate that.
I hear you.
it's
Maybe
anyway,
that's why it's bullish. Everybody's wanting to hate it, and it just keeps grinding higher. It's
they're
telling
getting
you something.
squeezed out. Yeah.
Okay,
So
inflation numbers.
yeah, like what's gonna happen next week? You
Well,
you called the ISM. Where are we going, buddy?
I don't see inflation for the short run.
Thank you.
Like I like it.
Thank
like
you.
The
You know what? You're actually saying something smart for once.
I just don't. I'd be shocked if we got higher numbers here. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
It's like the reality. Although I'm a huge inflation bull over the long run, I don't see how with the CRB raw industrials going lower with that unemployment number, no inflation there, with all the uncertainty. I just don't see where we're going to get it.
There's a lot of that uncertainty. Commodity prices are still relatively weak. The U.S. dollar's relatively strong. All of those things that are usually tailwinds for inflation going higher are actually headwinds, and so the inflation number. And you know what? I'm not going to complain because we have a bet that I'm looking forward to at the end of the year cashing in. Our bet was the over under at 1.9 on the year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I'm not looking good. I might lose that one.
You are going to potentially lose. I don't want to already do a victory lap
Yeah,
because
you
I'm
should
going
be
to somehow
careful.
find a way to goocher it.
For those
But
who don't know, Patrick often likes to ring me up when I have a market call that's going wrong and rub salt in the wound. And I'll tell you, his timing is impeccable. Every single time he's done it, it has marked a short-term top in his trade. He did it on gold because I gave up on a gold long, and so he was phoning me up to tell me how happy I was. He top ticked it, and I should have gone short size because once he does that kind of stuff, it's just the kiss of death. There you go.
all right.
I should
All right.
start a service that just tells them when you're
Oh,
ribbing
Jesus
me hard.
Christ.
When
You
you're
know
ribbing
what?
me hard. It's only when you're ribbing me hard. You somehow the market gods know. They
No.
don't like it. You should be more
Yeah, they
respectful
don't.
to the
I
gods.
should be more respectful.
You should. It is. It's a lack of faith.
Uh,
That's the trouble with the young people
I-
these days. They don't believe in the market gods enough.